When Can Yaman heard her voice again, it changed everything. It was a moment he never expected, a voice from the past that suddenly broke through the walls he had built around his heart. After months of silence, distance, and unanswered questions, that call came like a spark in the darkness. Can Yaman, the man known for his charm and strength, felt something shift deep inside him the instant he heard her voice again. For so long, he had tried to move on, to bury the memories of her laughter, her touch, and the times they shared together. But the sound of her voice was like a key, unlocking every forgotten feeling, every hidden hope, and every silent regret. The world around him seemed to slow down, and in that one moment everything changed. The story of Can Yaman and her is one marked by passion, heartbreak, and a connection that neither time nor distance could erase. Fans around the world have followed their journey closely, waiting for any sign that the two might find their way back to each other. And now, that sign came in the form of a phone call, unexpected, electrifying, and full of unspoken truths. But what was said during that call? What emotions stirred within Can as he listened to her voice after so long? And how did that moment reshape everything they thought was lost? The answers to these questions reveal a side of Can Yaman rarely seen by the public, the vulnerable, human side of a star caught between love and fame. In this story, we will take you inside that unforgettable moment, exploring the impact of hearing her voice again, the memories it brought flooding back, and the choices that followed. It's a tale of love's enduring power, the pain of separation, and the hope that maybe, just maybe, some things are meant to be. It had been months since Can Yaman last heard her voice. Months filled with endless thoughts, restless nights, and a heart that refused to let go despite all his efforts. The silence between them wasn't just physical, it was a silence that echoed in the deepest parts of his soul. He often found himself replaying memories, wondering if she was thinking about him too, if she ever missed the way they used to laugh together or shared their dreams under the starry skies. Then, out of nowhere, his phone lit up with her name. That simple notification sent a jolt through his entire body. Could it really be her? His fingers trembled as he answered, and the moment the sound of her voice came through the line, time seemed to freeze. Her voice, soft, familiar, yet carrying the weight of everything unsaid, reached his ears like a melody he had been waiting to hear. It was as if the years melted away, and they were back in those moments where nothing else mattered but their connection. Every word she spoke held a meaning deeper than what was audible. There were apologies, hesitations, but also a spark of hope that neither of them dared to express before. Can's mind raced with 1,000 questions, but all he could focus on was the way her voice touched something inside him that had been dormant for too long. The walls of pride and hurt began to crumble, replaced by a raw vulnerability he rarely showed. In that moment, the world outside ceased to exist. All that mattered was the fragile thread linking their hearts once again. For fans and followers, this call was more than just a conversation, it was a sign, a glimpse of a possible new chapter in their story. Could this be the moment where past wounds begin to heal? Could the man who seemed so strong and untouchable finally admit that he still carries the weight of love lost? As the conversation unfolded, layers of pain, longing, and regret emerged. The phone call was not just a reunion of voices but a reopening of doors that many thought were closed forever. Can found himself standing at a crossroads, hold on to the past and the memories of what was, or embrace the uncertain future that awaited them both. This was a turning point, a moment that changed everything for Can Yaman, a moment when hearing her voice again became the catalyst for reflection, revelation, and perhaps, redemption. After that call, Can couldn't shake the feeling that something profound had shifted inside him. It wasn't just the sound of her voice, it was what it represented. The voice was a bridge across the distance and the silence that had separated them. It was a reminder of everything they had shared, and everything they still longed for but were afraid to say. In the days that followed, Can found himself replaying the conversation over and over in his mind. Every inflection, every pause, every emotion in her voice haunted him. He realized how much he had missed the simple comfort of hearing her speak, of knowing she was still there, somewhere beyond the screens and the noise of his busy life. Yet with that longing came confusion. The past was complicated, full of moments of happiness, but also pain and misunderstandings. Could they really pick up where they left off? Could the cracks in their story be repaired, or were they too deep to mend? Can's public image as a confident, untouchable star made it hard for him to admit the vulnerability he now felt. Fans saw his success, his charm, his effortless smile, but inside, he was wrestling with feelings he never expected to revisit. That call had opened a door to his past, but it also exposed wounds that hadn't fully healed. He thought about the times they had laughed together in private, the late-night talks about their dreams and fears. Those memories became bittersweet, reminding him of what was lost but also what might still be possible. Can was at a crossroads, caught between the safety of moving on and the risk of reopening a chapter that had left scars. But deep down, he knew that hearing her voice again had rekindled a flame he wasn't ready to extinguish. This was more than just a phone call. It was a turning point, a moment charged with emotion and the possibility of second chances. For Can Yaman, it was the moment everything changed, the moment he realized that some bonds, no matter how broken, never truly disappear. As the days turned into nights, Can found himself restless. The call replayed endlessly in his mind, echoing like a haunting melody that refused to fade. Every word she had spoken lingered, each sentence heavy with unspoken feelings and untold stories. He tried to convince himself that it was just a moment, a fleeting connection between two people caught in the chaos of their separate lives. But deep down, he knew it was more. That voice. The same voice that had once filled his world with joy and comfort, now stirred something deeper, something raw and vulnerable. It was a reminder of the love they once shared, a love that had been silenced but never truly extinguished. Can's heart, which he had tried so hard to protect, now felt exposed, vulnerable to the possibility of hope and heartbreak all at once. He thought back to the moments before the call, the long days filled with work, the lonely nights when memories crept in like shadows. He had convinced himself that time would heal everything, that distance would make it easier to move on. But hearing her voice shattered that illusion. It was as if time had folded, and suddenly, the past and present collided in a way that left him breathless. In private, Can struggled with his feelings. Publicly, he remained the composed, charismatic figure adored by millions. But behind closed doors, he wrestled with doubts and fears. What did this call mean? Was it a chance for reconciliation or a painful reminder of what was lost? Could they navigate the complicated emotions and the past mistakes to find a new path forward? The call also opened old wounds, memories of misunderstandings, arguments, and moments when words were left unsaid. But alongside the pain was a flicker of hope. Could this voice, once distant and silent, become a source of healing? Could the connection they shared reignite into something stronger, tempered by time and growth? Can realized that hearing her voice again was more than just a moment, it was a catalyst. A catalyst for reflection on what truly mattered, for confronting fears, and for considering the possibility of forgiveness and renewal. It was a turning point that challenged him to face his own heart honestly. As he looked ahead, Can knew the journey wouldn't be easy. Love, after all, is never simple, especially when fame, distance, and past hurts complicate the path. But the memory of that call, that voice, remained a beacon, guiding him through uncertainty and reminding him that some connections are worth fighting for. In the end, that call wasn't just a fleeting moment, it was a turning point that changed everything for Can Yaman. Hearing her voice again cracked open the door to a world of emotions he thought he had locked away forever. It reminded him that love isn't something you can simply erase or forget, no matter how much time passes or how far apart you grow. Can realized that the connection they shared was still alive beneath the surface, fragile but real. The voice that reached him through the phone was a bridge between the past and a possible future, a future that, while uncertain, held the promise of healing, understanding, and perhaps even reconciliation. But beyond the romantic hope, it was also a moment of self-discovery. Can confronted the vulnerability he had hidden behind strength and fame. He understood that to move forward, he had to face his fears and accept the complicated truth of their story, that love sometimes means letting go, sometimes means fighting harder, and sometimes means simply listening. For Can Yaman, hearing her voice again was more than just nostalgia, it was a catalyst for growth, a reminder that life's most profound changes often begin with a single moment, a single word, a single call. As fans and followers continue to watch his journey, one thing is clear: the story is far from over. Because when love touches your heart that deeply, it leaves a mark that never truly fades. And in that silence after the call, in the space between past and future, Can Yaman found something precious: hope. Hope that whatever comes next, whatever path they choose, it will be guided by the honesty and courage that began the moment he heard her voice again. Isterson metni baska formata de hazarlarum, ya de seo yumlu asaklama v thumbnail fikri de varibilarum. Na.